Hello, psycho-religion students. Today in our video for this week, we're going to talk about mature religion and talk about scripting and mapping, and if time, we'll talk about healthy characteristics of human beings. We'll start with Gordon Allport, A-L-L-P-O-R-T, someone we've quoted from before. In his book Personality, he talks about key characteristics of a mature personality and then goes on to talk about a mature religion. A mature personality would have three factors. The first is the ability to enlarge or to extend your personality, that it can always grow. You can become a better person. Secondly, it would be self-objectification, or we would call it insight. You're able to step outside yourself and view yourself objectively. And then third would be the idea that you have an adequate philosophy of life that works for you and gets you where you need to go in life. Now that would be a mature personality, and he expands that to mature religion, or he would call it mature religious sentiment. And the first quality, he notes, is being well differentiated or self-critical. Self-critical is kind of like that detail mentioned in the personality, but you're able to look outside of yourselves, and let's say if you were criticized for something in your faith, that you don't take it harshly, or you don't become discouraged, or as many do, you often become defensive about what you believe. It's something like this. Let's say you're a patriot and you love our nation, like I am. I have great allegiance to the nation and love my nation, but I also see great flaws in it at the same time. And it would be the same with your religion. You have great appreciation and love for it, for your faith, but you're able to hear comments that are negative about it without having to be defensive. A second item would be that a mature religion has a motivational force of its own. Allport actually was saying that this may be the most significant factor for the spread of religion of any of these particular attributes that he lists, because it has what could be called a functional autonomy. A functional autonomy, that is a life force of its own. It's not dependent on the culture or personality factors or what home you came from, but that within you, you have the seeds of greatness and are able to change lives. It's a drive within its own. So we call it a motivational force of its own. That's Allport's terms. And then the third mark of a mature religion is consistency of moral consequences. Consistency of moral consequences. You see time and time again in the news persons who claim to be individuals of faith, and then it turns out their personal lives are very different. And we become disappointed by these persons, and naturally so. I think of it this way. I heard a really excellent description of neurosis, a lay description from a fellow that was a motivational speaker and had been an advisor to many Fortune 500 companies. Unusual source to hear this from, but he said if you take what you believe and the way you actually practice what you believe and live your life, the wider the gap, the more neurotic you are. The more you close that gap, that is, you live more closely to the dictates and beliefs of your faith and your life, which you think is important, the closer you pull that gap together and live that way, you'll be less neurotic. I thought that was a good description. A mature religion has a consistency in its moral behavior. And then related to that is that, number 4, that religion would give you a comprehensive view of life. It affects every part of your life, not just your spirituality, as many persons wish to compartmentalize it. It affects your mental life, your relational life, even your physical life, as we'll be pointing out in class this next week. And then number 5, it would be that a mature religion is integral. Integral. You really could substitute the word wholeness here. Wholeness. It gives you a sense of wholeness and peace, and gives you a balance in your life that you did not have before you had the religion. It doesn't mean, of course, that you solve all problems or that you figure out all things. It just means that it gives you a sense that this is what life is about, because it impacts every aspect of life. And then Allport's final point would be that a mature religion is heuristic. That would be spelled Heuristic. Heuristic. Think of it like a stepladder. That a person who has a mature religion is always seeking more light. It's never like you've arrived or that you think you're wise and you've got it figured out. You have a mature belief system, that's the stepladder going up, but you're always open to learning about more truths. You're forever a searcher. You're always a learner. And I like those. Those are the characteristics he discovered and believed, and I would agree with, for a mature religion. Now I wish to add a couple of details that I think you'll find of some interest to you. Two terms that I'd like you to record, and one term is scripting. Scripting. It's a term from transactional analysis, and it has the idea that we often view our lives like a movie script. We even have you watch some movies that deal with trauma and themes of religion here in this class, and think of this life of yours as being a movie. And your parents early on were the directors of this script. There are other significant people that impacted your life, and they scripted you to act in certain kinds of ways and manners. But here's a beautiful thing about scripts. I have a daughter who's an actress, so she would tell you this. Often in the midst of making a movie and doing a script, the scripts are changed. And you can change those scripts. It's your life. You can say, this is my chapter of my life, and I wish to change it and break out of old preconceived notions and become this different kind of person. For example, several years ago, I heard William Murray speak. You wouldn't know of him, but his mother was perhaps the most famous atheist in the country, Madalyn Murray O'Hair. It was over William Murray's childhood that she decided, she took it all the way to the Supreme Court to remove any school prayer or any influences of Judeo-Christianity upon him. So she scripted him to be an atheist in every way. Well, miracle of miracles, William Murray was speaking at my church because he became a Christian evangelist. He not only embraced Judeo-Christianity, but he became evangelistic about it and wanted other people to believe it. He changed the script that he had for his life. The other term I'd like you to know is mapping. Mapping. That I got this term from Scott Peck in his famous book, The Road Less Traveled. And in The Road Less Traveled, he talked about the way you view the world, mapping. You have a physical world that has maps, by which you see the structure of the world. But psychological maps are the way that we see our personal world, where we're supposed to go, what we're supposed to do, our philosophy of life, how to treat others. Albert Ellis put it this way in these inner maps. He said, the world is your mirror. The world is your mirror. In other words, you will see the world in ways that you wish to and what you believe. You will look for evidence in the world to support your inner map, the beliefs, claims that you have for yourself. For example, if you believed everybody was out to get you, you would look for evidence of that. If you believed that the world was a good and kind place, you would look for evidence of that. The world is your mirror, and that's your script. It's how you believe within you. Finally, in our last section of this short video, Maslow, Abraham Maslow's great contributions in positive psychology, his study of self-actualized persons at the end of his life, people who he thought were mature and together and well-differentiated. And he had his top 10 list. Let's see if I can do this in 5 minutes. I think so. And so 10 things that he said would refer to you as a self-actualized person. The first was essentially that you had a strong tendency for selfishness and unselfishness to be fused into unity. All that means is that you're able to, care for yourself when you need to, selfishness, and then, give and be altruistic and caring for others, unselfishness, later on. You'll be able to do both and have them in a unity. It's a yin and a yang. Secondly, you perceive your work as play. God forbid that you would have a job that you're just going for a pension or to get a gold watch at the end, but you actually go to work and you love what you are doing. You have an enjoyment of it. Secondly, and related to that perception, is a childlike excitement about your life. You still maintain an interest, a curiosity, an enjoyment of things. You don't let jaded persons get you down. You still have a smile on your face, not just a smile on the outside, but a smile inwardly, much like children have. Number 4, and I love this one, your impulses can be acted out upon the framework of reality. You can act out on your impulses within the framework of reality. Now we got to watch it when we just always act on our impulses, because then you get in trouble. But he says within the framework of reality. In other words, it's okay sometimes to color outside the lines. In fact, it's healthy to do that. If you get stuck into a rut or a pattern, or we refer to it as habituation, then you try something new. You do something differently, and it stretches your personality and helps you to grow. Number 5 is that you have kind of a healthy, he calls it a healthy irrationality. We got to watch when we get into Ellis's terms, but it really means you're able to daydream and fantasize and think ahead and just think outside the box as to the possibilities for you. And then you view life as worthwhile. You view life as worthwhile. One of the things I don't do is I don't look at the news first thing in the morning. I want to make sure that I am, together. I have my quiet time. I read some great quotes. I read from the Bible. And I want to believe that life is worthwhile even when I don't see the evidence of it. Next, this would be actually for me the most significant of all the personality attributes, and that is to be flexible. I'm paraphrasing him. It just means you put up with all that comes your way. You may bend when the storms come, but you come back and you're able to put up with it. You're a flexible person. And then next, you're creative. You're creative. You're able to look at different ways of doing things. You learn from others. Your thinking does not become stagnant, but you're able to delve deep into your unconscious and be creative. Then, and we're going to get through this list, you have the ability to be strong when necessary. I like to think of it this way. You're made of steel, but you're wrapped in velvet. Made of steel, wrapped in velvet. You may be a kind and a caring and a very gentle and sensitive person, but that does not mean you don't have deep inner strength. You do. You're made of steel, wrapped in velvet. And then I think this would be the 9th. You'd be altruistic. That is, your life is oriented towards others and making the world a better place. And then the last of Maslow's list, and that is you have a higher purpose in life. And of course, we would label that as God, and I think Maslow would as well. You have a higher purpose in life. You know that this life is not all that there is, and so because of that, it dictates how you live your life and how you treat others. You have a higher purpose and a higher calling in life. Well, thank you very much, Psycho-Religion students. Hope you enjoy this video, and I'll see you in class.